Drip, 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 drip. For years, President Donald Trump has used Twitter as his go-to public relations weapon, mounting a barrage of attacks on celebrities and then political rivals, even after adversaries warned he could be creating legal problems for himself. Why is he creating legal problems for himself? Why is he creating legal problems for himself? What has he done to create legal problems for himself? I will continue with this, but I read that his private lawyer taped numerous discussions with him, as well as others. And in my view, should be disbarred for it. His private lawyer, Michael Cohen, hires slip and fall Lanny Davis, propagandist, to represent him. Now we read where Michael Cohen is tired of being kicked around now, and he's going to show the FBI that he can work with them and so forth. What the hell is this? You hire a private lawyer? You hire a private lawyer who tapes the conversation of the client? Why would a private lawyer tape the conversation of a client unless that private lawyer intended to use it? In violation of the attorney-client privilege. And when it comes to Donald Trump, apparently there is no attorney-client privilege. When it comes to Donald Trump, apparently there is no confidential discussions with your lawyer. When it comes to Donald Trump, apparently there is no attorney work product when it comes to your lawyer. All of you who've dealt with lawyers, all of you who've had cases, I don't care if it's a parking ticket, a divorce, whatever it is. Can you imagine a legal system like this? We have to hear lectures about freedom of the press. I'll get there in a minute. But we don't hear any lectures about attorney-client relationships, about due process and privilege and confidentiality. Why? Because it's Trump? You know, he is an American citizen. I understand if he were an illegal alien who crawled across the border 15 seconds ago, that we'd be conferring all kinds of constitutional and due process rights on him. Instead, he got elected president, so all of a sudden, he's stripped of this typical rights that any American citizen would have with a lawyer. And now we circle back to Mr. Mueller. If I wanted to destroy the United States, I would create a special counsel office and appoint Robert Mueller. If I were Vladimir Putin, I would appoint Robert Mueller as special counsel. So day in and day out, his office could leak about the President of the United States. So they could harass his White House staff, harass his family, harass his business employees to try and distract him. I would do exactly what Mr. Rosenstein has done. I'm not done. I'll be right back.
This is where liberalism ends and liberty begins. The Mark Levin Show at 877-381-3811.
The moron who goes by the name of Trey Gowdy, who is basically a drama student, when I watch him at these hearings, does nothing effective. Benghazi Zippo. Was in Boehner's back pocket. Yes, I'll say it. Nobody else will. But Mark, he speaks so well. In any event, he thinks Mueller's doing a fine job. The Speaker of the House has become an absolute disaster. Just let the investigation take its course, you know. These are cowards. These are buffoons. These are men who are not statesmen, who do not understand the Constitution. Just because Mr. Gowdy was a prosecutor, and just because Mr. Ryan claims to defend the Constitution, how so exactly? Either of them. We have a prosecutor now who is investigating the president's tweets to see if he can cobble together a case of obstruction. Was the president obstructing or threatening his own attorney general or the director of the FBI? This is according to three people briefed on the matter. So now they're leaking. Several of the remarks came as Trump was also privately pressuring the men, both key witnesses in the inquiry, about the investigation. And Mueller's examining whether the actions add up to attempts to obstruct the investigation by both intimidating witnesses and pressuring senior law enforcement officials to tamp down the inquiry. Has anybody tamped down this inquiry? Now, let's see. We have Maggie Haberman and Michael Schmidt, investigative reporters, and other lightweights, hundreds of them, in the media, the free press, looking for any angle on the president. They're even recipients of felonious leaks out of the FBI and our intelligence agencies, and have been now for some time, which they then burp up on the pages of their fledgling newspapers. We have the state of New York that's been investigating various aspects of the president's background. We have Mr. Mueller, of course, and his gang of left-wing Democrat donors investigating the president. Has somebody stopped the investigation? Has somebody obstructed this investigation? No, I don't think so. But this is a very clever trick. We have an out-of-control prosecutor, and if anybody raises questions about him or Mr. Comey, who is diabolical, I mean, the entire senior team over there at the FBI has been wiped out on their own accord. Leaking, other forms of unethical activity, potentially illegal activity, they've been blown out. And the President of the United States is not allowed, as the head of the executive branch, not allowed to question anybody in law enforcement, not allowed to question any of the investigators, because that would be obstruction. Not allowed to comment on them, not allowed to criticize them. No. The hell kind of country is this, where the President of the United States is elected by the American people to run the damn executive branch, and he can't raise questions about the FBI director? Hell, Congress was doing it until he fired him. Then all of a sudden they love the guy. Can't raise questions about the intelligence services? Then he's treasonous? He's a traitor? Is this a joke? Let me explain something to Mr. Mueller. You clown, you fool, you stooge. The executive branch is the president. No, I'm not saying he's a dictator. No, there are specifics in the Constitution that applies to the president. But he is the executive branch. And I am sick and tired of these two-bit prosecutors, self-appointed, this incestuous bunch of circle hacks, I'll say that, telling us what the president can or cannot do. And I don't need liberal professors who are embraced so thoroughly by conservatives lecturing us either. They're unreliable. This is a constitutional battle now. Those who support the Constitution and those who don't. It's that simple. This is why I am so outspoken and aggressive in challenging what's taking place here. We have an unconstitutional special counsel, in my view, who was given unconstitutional powers by a deputy attorney general, in my view. We have a president of the United States who's being harassed every damn day with leaks to the New York Times, leaks to the Washington Post, leaks to CNN about his tweets are now being investigated, because we all know the president's not allowed to comment on anything. He's supposed to keep his mouth shut, let the libs run wild. Adam Schiff and Stormy Daniels and the slip and fall Lord, they get to say whatever they want, whenever they want, as many times as they want, and the president's supposed to sit there and take it in the neck. Otherwise, we're going to investigate him. Otherwise, he's insane and ought to be removed under Amendment 25. Otherwise, he should be impeached. Otherwise, he's not presidential. I have never seen anything like this, ever. Mr. Mueller, unaccountable, utterly unaccountable. Congress is afraid to call him up. Congress is afraid to control him. In fact, you got Gowdy and Lindsey Graham and others defending the guy. Rosenstein, conservative. No, you can't impeach him. Why? Well, it won't work. Really? That's real leadership. Maybe it won't. Maybe it takes time to turn this country around and use the Constitution again. Mueller wants to question the president. This is his stenographers at the New York Times. Mueller wants to question the president about the tweets. His interest in them is the latest addition to a range of presidential actions he's investigating as a possible obstruction case. Private interactions with Comey, Sessions, and other senior administration officials about the Russia inquiry, misleading White House statements, public attacks, possible pardon offers to potential witnesses. None of what Mueller has homed in on constitutes obstruction. Trump's lawyers said they argue that most of the presidential acts are under scrutiny. So it goes on and on and on. This is an abomination. Absolute abomination. And we sit here with kid gloves on, mittens. You know, don't try and impeach Rosenstein. No, I mean, there's other things we can do, you know, like contempt. Oh, that'll work. And I love the line from the Department of Justice. We've turned over 880,000 documents. It's not the number of documents you turned over. Don't try that ruse on us. It's what documents you won't turn over. That's the issue. If Congress can't get basic information investigating the FBI and Department of Justice from the FBI and the Department of Justice, and the threats out there that the President of the United States, if he intervenes, will be charged with obstruction of justice, where do we go? For all those who say, all the President has to do is order these things, really order this and that. You think Mr. Mueller, who's there to protect Mr. Comey, among others, and is out to get Trump, you think he's going to sit still for that? I've been arguing Congress has a huge role here. And if not Congress, I don't know who. They should be holding hearings. They should bring Mr. Mueller in front of them. They should ask him what his constitutional authority is under the Appointments Clause. They should ask him about the two memos that I keep bringing up, written at the Office of Legal Counsel of the Department of Justice, that you cannot indict a sitting president, whether he intends to comply with those, given the fact that his appointment requires him to comply with the regulations and rules of the Department of Justice. This man is answerable to no one. Well, Rod Rosenstein, that's my point. That's my point. And these incessant leaks to the media, all of which seek to damage the President of the United States. Vladimir Putin, on his best day, couldn't do the kind of damage that these people are doing to our country. And I have a proposal. Why are we, the taxpayers, paying for Mueller? There's two other sources I could pay for Mueller, and to me, they really should, because they owe him a debt. The Russians or the Democrat Party. He's not serving the interests of the American people. Not in my view. They're investigating the president's tweets. These people are writing a report, or worse, ladies and gentlemen. I've told you this, I've told you this, I've told you this, to try and take this president out. And to watch Trey Gowdy, and to watch those Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee who insist that Mueller's doing a good job and he should be protected. To watch this Speaker of the House with one foot out the door, absolute coward, is a complete breakdown of our system. We have a man exercising enormous power who does not have any constitutional basis for existence. Well, Mark, there was the Morrison versus Olson decision 30 years ago. Excuse me. That decision underscores my point about the Appointments Clause. a principal officer versus an inferior officer. Mr. Mueller should never have been appointed. I said it at the time, but here we are. Some people are trying to do something about it, and they're under attack. Would you want to be in a foxhole with these conservatives or Republicans? You got men who are willing to stand up, and women, and take on this tyranny that's taking place, and what happens? They're shot in the back. Yeah, this impeachment stuff. You take it back, walk it slow, pretend it never happened, move on with contempt. Oh, okay, that'll work. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.